Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the Last Word Sports. Hit the likes, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I really want to take this video, to try my very best to perform the impossible. That's fix the Denver Broncos. It's the impossible according to some people. I actually believe they're not that far from actually being a playoff team. Don't turn the video off yet. Please hear me out, okay? That take though hinges on another one of my takes, and that is that Russell Wilson actually isn't bad. I know that he's going to be I think there's a problem with the Broncos right now, and that problem is going to be the scapegoat for this year, and I believe it is a valid scapegoat, and his name is Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett was a good offense coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, helped Blake Bortles get to an AFC Championship game. But he's not a head coach. He's not. I think he's a solid coordinator for a team that already has a competent quarterback. You can say non-competent quarterback too, I guess, but he's not somebody who can establish a culture, establish a team. He's not one of those guys. He is a add-on, an extension. He's not the entree. But Nathaniel Hackett he's not a head coach. He's not. He's a terrible head coach. He came in because he was an offense coordinator, thought he could call plays. Well, he handed off play calling duties. All right, well then manage the game, and he handed off game managing duties to some other old assistant. So far, what is he doing? So he can't do that. So how do you fix this Denver Broncos team? The offense has looked putrid. The defense has been really good, and it's kind of sad to see how bad the offense has been when that defense has really played well. I think there are a couple problems with what they're doing right now. I think definitely their offensive line has been a problem for years, it feels like. And that's something I think you got to fix, especially for Russell Wilson. I know he didn't have a good offensive line in Seattle, but he's also older. He can't move around as much. And I know people are picking at him, saying he was never really good from the pocket and he could always run around. That's why he was good and this is who he is now. I don't believe that. I don't believe we saw Russell Wilson dominate the game for 9 years before now for him to just be a fluke. That does not happen. I don't know if that ever happening. It doesn't happen. It's not true. The Russell Wilson we know is still in there. He is. You just need the right situations to bring it out. So let me fix this team. First thing I do is fire Nathaniel Hackett. I don't know why he still has a job, to be honest. I guess maybe they'd have to pay. It'd be dead cap money, not cap, but dead money if they fired him. I don't know, but he's gone. He has to be gone after this year. So you need a new head coach. Now, I want a head coach who he doesn't have to have head coach experience. Because I think it's going to take a creative mind for that offense to really help it reach its full potential. So I want a coach who is offensive mind, who has dealt with an older quarterback that might be a little set in his ways that you might have to work with, and you can structure an offense to fit him as well as to fit the weapons around him. I want an offense coordinator that has taken very little and made a lot with it. You might not think of him as making a lot of what he has, considering his team doesn't put up a ton of points, but I think consistently the Buccaneers have had a solid offensive showing. I know they had Tom Brady, but I also think it's due to Byron Leftwich. So first thing I do is I bring in Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich is a former quarterback, so he can relate with Russell Wilson. He's done great with Tom Brady. Tom Brady swears by him. Bruce Arians swears by him. He really should have gotten a job last year, but he didn't. And I think his favorite type of play is the vertical passing game. And that's what Brady has. People say he's a system quarterback, but Brady wasn't a huge vertical passing game in New England. It was a lot of, short, quick throws, and now they have to do that kind of stuff in Tampa Bay because they don't have the receivers to go deep. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are there, but they're not playing. It's not a great situation right now in Tampa Bay. Nobody's really playing great on offense. Well, also he's had situations where he had to play with Scotty Miller as his best receiver. He's had situations where he's had terrible offensive line. And yes, he has Brady to make up for those things, but even with those downgrades, he's still found ways to have productive offenses. When you ask people about Russell Wilson and what does he do well, in the past he could escape from the pocket, extend plays, and he has an incredible deep ball. We haven't really seen the deep ball this year, and I think that's because of the offensive line. So I think that Byron Leftwich's game plan will match up with Russell Wilson. That vertical passing game, it'll do well with Russell Wilson. I think it'll work. I think this is a pair made in heaven. This is if you can get Byron Leftwich away from the Buccaneers, because I think they might let Todd Bowles go. Do they promote Byron Leftwich? I think they might go outside of the organization and not promote from within again. But if they do keep Byron, then you lost that. If they don't keep Byron as head coach or offensive coordinator, he might be willing to take a head coach job right now, and I think this is a perfect place for him. I think the Broncos should offer him whatever he wants and let him come there. So once you have that head coach figured out, you let Russell Wilson get healthy. Let him get healthy and tell him point blank, you are not as young as you were. We know you used to extend plays and you're playing from the pocket now. We get that. That's fine. If you want to play from the pocket now, do that. Whatever. But you need to learn how to play from the pocket when everything else isn't going right. I think that I'll talk about that in a little bit. Anyway, learn to play from the pocket. Just work on that. Offseason. All right, get yourself healthy. And we'll see you next year. I think quarterback's fine. You don't need to do anything. Maybe draft. I don't even think you need to draft a quarterback in later rounds because you already lost so many picks for this trade. You don't need to waste another on a quarterback that's not going to be it, but you might give a few games to. That doesn't make sense to me. Running back, you get Javonte Williams back next year healthy. He's a top 10, top 15, top 10 running back in the league. I also like the guys they have behind him too, though. They're pretty good. I think wide receiver is very interesting because I don't know why they haven't been producing. I guess you can point back to Russell Wilson, but then I could say, well, you can point back to Nathaniel Hackett because I think KJ Hamler, I think Jerry Jeudy, and I think Courtland Sutton are all very talented guys who could bring a lot of contribution to other teams. And I don't know why it's not working with Russell Wilson right now. So I think if you bring in Byron Leftwich, he instantly gets contribution out of those guys. They figure out a way to get it going. Courtland Sutton is the down the field kind of guy. That's his game. Jerry Jeudy can operate in the mid, and KJ Hamler can take those short screens or those even deep balls. His speed is incredible. And I think and then they get Tim Patrick back next year. I think this receiver court is going to be a really good one next year if they keep it all intact. So that's where I stand with that. On the offensive line, though, is where they need to upgrade. Spend a ton of draft capital on the offensive line. Just do it. Because if you can shore up that thing, I think your offense is humming. You have Byron Leftwich and the offensive line shored up. I think you're good. Now, granted, if Russell Wilson sucks, it's all going to go downhill. But let me ask you this. Russell Wilson has probably the worst head coach in the NFL right now. Not the worst ever, but the worst in the NFL right now. And it looks like it. And it's not like it's a defensive head coach that kind of keeps hands off the offense. It is an offensive head coach who's going to put his mark on the offense. And that's why it looks terrible. I don't think they suited the offense to Russell Wilson. I think Nathaniel Hackett brought an offense that he was used to with Rodgers and even Blake Bortles and was like, here's what we're going to run. And it doesn't suit Russell. So I think if you bring in Byron Leftwich, you really spent draft capital on your offensive line. You can spend in free agency, though. A lot of times it honestly doesn't work. A lot of times Teron Armstead was a good signing by the Dolphins, but honestly it's not very often that an offensive line signing works out well. So, especially guard. Spend draft capital to shore up that offensive line. On defense, there's little holes that you can fill in. I think that's where you just kind of get in role players through free agency on defense. But you can do other things like that. I could go in depth about who or what. I'm going to wait more towards the offseason for that, though. But this is just my plan. And if you look at that team, I think it could be a playoff team. And I don't think this job is as unattractive to coaches as people say. There's a lot of hate and slander on the Broncos right now. And I get it. They played like absolute crap. Their offense has been abysmal. One of the worst in the league. But I don't think that it's over. I think you got to get a coach in there who has a style of play that matches what your quarterback wants and can adjust it to the pieces that's given to him. We haven't really seen that from Nathaniel Hackett so far, and I don't think we will. He's got to go. But that's my rebuild for the Broncos. I think that this is one that could be successful and work out. And if it doesn't work out, I think you keep Byron and I think the only reason it doesn't work out is if literally Russell Wilson isn't anything. If he just sucks altogether, fine. You dump him after that season. But you can't after this season. You can't. You're married to him for another year. After that season, you dump him, you draft Caleb Williams, and you're going to play well then. So, but that's my fix for the Broncos. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and catch you guys next time.